Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ. Welcome to this live broadcast from here in St. Peter's Square for the recitation of the noon Angelus today. This is Friday with Pope Francis on the Solemnity of All Saints. I'd like to welcome all of you joining us for this live broadcast, some of you joining us through the various Vatican media channels, the Vatican audio app, the web portal, the YouTube channel, and most especially to those of you joining us through the various TV stations making this broadcast possible through EWTN or Shalom World TV, Salt and Light TV, and Catholic TV, and many, many more of you joining us through radio stations throughout the world. Welcome to all of you. As I said, it's Friday. It's not Sunday, which is when the Pope usually recites the Angelus with the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square. But today is November 1st. It's the feast or the solemnity of All Saints and a holy day of obligation here in Rome as elsewhere in many other countries. But it's also a public holiday. So you can see there's a festive atmosphere here in the crowd. There's been a few festivities here around St. Peter's this morning. In some dioceses, however, today's solemnity will be celebrated on Sunday. Just a bit about the origins. The feast may date back to 609, when Pope Boniface IV consecrated the Pantheon in Rome to the Virgin Mary and all the martyrs. He is also attributed with establishing November 2nd as All Souls' Day. And the current date of November 1st is attributed to Pope Gregory III when he consecrated a chapel to all the martyrs in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. He then ordered the priests of the Diocese of Rome to celebrate the feast annually, and the celebration was then extended to the entire church by Pope Gregory IV around between 827 and 844. So that's how the Solemnity of All Saints came down to us. We now hear the crowd applauding as Pope Francis appears at the window.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buongiorno.
Dear brothers and sisters, good day.
L'odierna solennità di tutti i santi
Today's Solemnity of All Saints reminds us that we're all called to
i
holiness.
santi e le sante di ogni tempo che oggi
The
celebriamo
saints
tutti
of all
insieme
time, whom today we
non
celebrate all
sono
together,
semplicemente dei simboli
are not
degli
merely
esseri
symbols
umani lontani,
or
irraggiungibili.
distant and
Al
unreachable
contrario,
people.
sono persone che
Rather,
hanno vissuto con i
they're
piedi
people
per terra.
who've lived with their feet on the
Hanno
ground.
sperimentato la fatica quotidiana
They experienced the daily toil of existence with its successes and failures, finding in the Lord the strength to get up again and again and continue along the way. From this, we understand that holiness is a goal that cannot be achieved only by our own strengths, but it is the fruit of God's grace and of our free response to it. Therefore, holiness is both call
In quanto
and
grazia
gift.
di Dio, cioè un dono di Dio,
Inasmuch as it is God's grace, that is His gift, it's something we cannot buy or barter, but only welcome, thus participating in the same divine life through the Holy Spirit who has dwelt in us since the day of our baptism. The font of holiness is, in fact, baptism. It's a matter of growing ever more in the awareness that we are grafted onto Christ as a branch is united to the vine, and
e in
therefore we
Lui
can and
da
must
figli di Dio.
live with Him and in
Allora la
Him as
santità
children of God.
è vivere
Thus,
in piena
holiness
comunione con
is
Dio,
living in full
già
communion with
adesso,
God, even now,
durante questo pellegrinaggio
during our
terreno.
earthly pilgrimage.
Ma la santità, oltre che dono, è anche chiamata,
Besides being a
è una
gift,
vocazione
holiness is
comune
also a call. It's
di
a
tutti noi
common
cristiani,
vocation
dei
of
discepoli di Cristo.
all Christians, of
È
all
la
of
strada di
Christ's
pienezza
disciples.
che ogni cristiano è
It's
chiamato a percorrere
the
nella fede,
path of fullness that
procedendo
every
verso
Christian
la
is called
meta
to follow
finale,
in faith,
la
proceeding
comunione
towards the
definitiva
final
con
goal,
Dio nella vita eterna.
definitive communion with
La
God and
santità
eternal
diventa
life.
così
Holiness
risposta
thus
al dono
becomes
di
a
Dio, perché si
response to
manifesta
God's
come
gift
assunzione
because it
di
manifests
responsabilità.
itself as
In questa prospettiva è importante
embracing
assumere un
responsibility.
quotidiano
In
impegno
this
di
perspective, it's important to take
santificazione
on the
nelle
serious and
condizioni, nei
daily
doveri,
commitment to
nelle
sanctification
circostanze
in
della nostra
all the
vita,
conditions, duties, and
cercando
circumstances
di
of our
vivere
lives,
ogni cosa con
trying to
amore
live everything
e
with
con carità.
love, with charity.
I santi che oggi celebriamo nella liturgia sono fratelli e sorelle che hanno
The saints
ammesso
we celebrate
nella
today in the
loro
liturgy
vita
are
di avere
brothers and
bisogno
sisters who
di
admitted
questa
in their
vita
lives
in
that they
luce
needed
divina,
that divine light,
abbandonandosi ad essa con
abandoning
fiducia.
themselves to it in trust.
E ora davanti al trono di Dio
And
cantano in
now, before
eterno
the
la sua
throne of
gloria.
God, they forever sing His glory.
Egli costituiscono la città santa, alla
They
quale
make up the
guardiamo
holy
con
city,
speranza come la nostra
to which
meta
we look
definitiva,
with hope as
mentre
our
siamo
definitive
pellegrino
goal.
in questa città terrena.
We're pilgrims in
Camminiamo
this earthly
verso quella
pilgrimage,
città
and
santa,
we're traveling toward the
dove ci
holy
aspettano
city,
questi fratelli e
where
sorelle
our brothers and
santi.
sisters, the saints,
È
are
vero, noi
awaiting
siamo
us.
affaticati dall'asprezza del cammino, ma la speranza
We may be
ci
fatigued by the bitterness
ci
of
dà
the
la forza
journey,
di andare avanti.
and yet we are
Guardando
given
alla
the
loro
strength
vita
to move
dei
ahead.
santi,
Looking
siamo
at the
stimolati
lives
a
of the
imitarli.
saints, we're encouraged
Tra
to
loro
imitate
ci
them.
sono
Among
tanti
them,
testimoni di una
there
santità
are many
della porta
witnesses
accanto,
of a
di quelli che
holiness
vivono vicino a noi e
of
sono
our
un
neighbors next
riflesso
door,
della presenza di Dio.
those who live in our midst and reflect
Fratelli e
God's
sorelle,
presence. That's a
il
quote from
ricordo dei
Gaudete et
santi
Exultate.
ci conduce ad alzare gli occhi verso il cielo,
The memory of the
non
saints
per
impels us
dimenticare
to
le
raise our
realtà della
eyes to
terra,
heaven, not to forget the
ma per
realities of the earth,
affrontarle con più
but
coraggio,
to
con più
face them
speranza.
more courageously
Ci
and
accompagni
with
con la
more
sua
hope.
materna
May
intercessione
Mary, our
Maria,
most holy mother,
la nostra
accompany
Madre
us with her
Santissima,
maternal
segno di
intercession
consolazione,
as a
figli
sign of
sicura e
consolation
speranza.
and sure hope.
Angelus Domini nunciavit Mariae.
E concepit Spiritu Sancto.
Ave Maria, grazia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ecce ancilla Domini.
Fiat mi secundum verbum tuum.
Ave Maria, grazia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Et verbum caro factum est.
Et habitavit in nobis.
Ave Maria, grazia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ora pro nobis, Santa Dei Genitrix.
Ut digni officiamur promissionibus Christi.
Gratiam Tuam, quesumus Domine, mentibus nostris infunde, che Angelo Nunziante, Christi Filii Tui, incarnationem coniovimus, per passionem eius et crucem, a resurrectionis gloriam perducamur. Per Christum Dominum nostrum.
Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Pro fidelibus defuntis, Requiem aeternam dona eis Domine.
et lux perpetua luceat eis.
Requiescant in pace.
Amen.
Sit nomen Domini benedictum.
Ex hoc nunc et usque in saeculum,
Aiutorium nostrum in nomine Domine.
qui fecit caelum et terram.
Benedicat vos, omnipotens Deus, Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus.
Amen.
Amen.
And the crowd reacts to receiving our Holy Father's blessing.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, saluto con affetto
Dear brothers
tutti
and
voi,
sisters, I extend a warm
pellegrini
greeting
dell'Italia e dei vari
to
paesi,
all of you pilgrims from
in
Italy and other
particolare i
countries,
ragazzi dell'Azione
in
Cattolica.
particular the boys and girls from Catholic Action. There they are,
Sono venuti con i loro educatori
who've come with their
da tante
teachers
diocesi
from
italiane
many
nel 50
dioceses in Italy
anniversario
on the
dell'ACR.
50th anniversary of Catholic Action.
1, 2, 3.
So there's a cheer going up now from the boys and girls of Catholic Action, which the Holy Father started.
Saluto i giovani del decanato di Moget
I greet the young people
Francia
from the deanery of Moget in
e i
France,
ragazzi di Carugate, Milano.
and the boys and girls from Carugate, Milan.
Saluto gli atleti
I greet the
che hanno preso
athletes
parte alla Corsa dei Santi,
who've taken part in the
organizzata dalla
Corsa dei Santi,
Fondazione
that's
di
literally the
Don
race of
Bosco,
the saints, organized by the
per
Don Bosco
sottolineare
Missions
anche
Foundation,
in una
in order to
dimensione
draw
etichetta
attention
popolare
to the
il valore
religious
religioso
value
della
of
ricorrenza
All Saints'
epifania.
Day through a more
Ringrazio
festive
voi
party
e
dimension.
quanti
I thank
nelle
you
parrocchie
and all
e nelle
those who in
comunità in
other
questi
parishes
giorni
and communities
promuovono iniziative di
promote
preghiera per
prayerful
celebrare
initiatives
tutti i
in
santi
these days
e
for the
commemorare i
celebrations of All
defunti.
Saints and All Souls Day.
Queste due feste cristiane ci ricordano
These
il
two
legame
Christian feasts make
che
us
c'è tra la
remember
Chiesa
the
della
bond
terra,
that
siamo
exists
noi,
between the church on
e
earth,
quella del
that's us,
cielo,
and
tra
the
noi
church
e
in
i nostri
heaven,
cari
between
che
us
sono passati
and our
all'altra
dear
vita.
ones who've passed into the other life.
Domani pomeriggio
Tomorrow
mi recherò a
afternoon,
celebrare l'Eucaristia
I'll be
nelle
going to
catacombe di
celebrate the
Priscilla,
Eucharist in the catacombs
uno
of
dei
St.
luoghi di
Priscilla,
sepoltura
one of the
dei primi
places
cristiani di Roma.
where the first Christians were buried
In
in
questi
Rome.
giorni in
In
cui
these
purtroppo
days,
circolano e anche messaggi
in
di
which
cultura
there
negativa
unfortunately circulate
sulla
negative
morte e
cultural
sui
messages
morti,
regarding death and the dead,
invito a non
I
trascurare,
invite
se
you not
possibile,
to neglect, if
una
possible,
visita e una
a
preghiera al
visit and a
cimitero.
prayer in a cemetery.
Sarà un atto di fede.
That's an act of faith.
E a tutti auguro
And to
una
all
buona
of you,
festa nella compagnia
I wish you a
spirituale dei
blessed
santi.
feast in the company of the
Per favore,
saints.
non dimenticatevi di pregare per me. Buon pranzo e arrivederci.
And as always, he asks us not to forget to pray for him, and he wishes all of us a good day, and he says, enjoy your meal. Our Holy Father now greeting the crowds as he leaves the window after reciting the Angelus here today on the Feast of All Saints, with the crowds gathered here in St. Peter's Square in Rome. And you can find a summary of today's Angelus on the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts, as well as coverage of other Vatican and world news. On behalf of Vatican Media, I'd like to thank all of the technicians behind the scenes who've made this broadcast possible, as well as all of you for joining us, taking time out of your day. I wish all of you, as our Holy Father did, a most blessed feast. May we allow our brothers and sisters, the saints, to accompany us on our pilgrimage toward the heavenly city. Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.